I enjoyed watching it very much. Question in chat, is this match for first? No, this is a win and in for the top 8. So round 4 underway, guys. The last round of Swiss in tonight's standard FNM tournament. Casey Skibbe on the right. He's on a Malta 5 on the play. He's playing Naya Super Friends, a deck we've seen Alec Myers have great success with the last few weeks, and months for that matter. His opponent is Joe Lewis, we saw earlier tonight, who's playing a junk mid-range deck. Basically junk good stuff that cheats more towards control than mid-range. And this is a win, and both these players are 2-1, so a win puts them into the top 8. A loss likely eliminates them from the tournament. So Casey with the turn 2 Sylvan Caryatid, and Joe with the perfect answer, a turn 2 Devour Flesh on his side. So Casey going to be up against it in general here, being down 2 cards. Perfect answer to his Hexproof Mana Accelerant. Now facing down a potential card advantage from Joe's Courser of Crufix. Casey at least hitting his land drops, also hitting the table with a certain frequency, which causes the camera to shake, so I apologize for that. Courser reveals a Temple of Plenty drawn, a swamp off the top. It's going to gain Joe a life, revealing... is that Advent of the Worm? Yeah, Advent of the Worm on top. Card we've long forgotten about, but still very good at coming in at the end of your turn and attacking you to death. So on 4, there is a Xenagos the Reveler, likely going to tick up, make a Satyr token. There's, in fact, a Satyr token. And now we see the functional difference between Mana Confluence and City of Brass. That Underworld Connection was only for 1 life. If it was City of Brass, it would have been 2. So, of course, revealing a Temple of Malady up top for Joe. So that can come in for value if he wants to go that route. Let's see if he has a 5-drop he wants to cast. I do not believe Joe is playing Blood Barons in his main deck. His hand is chock full of good. He's got Abrupt Decay, he's got the Advent that we know about. I believe he has a Thoughtseize as well, which looks like I'm correct as we load up a Swamp right into the glare. Pelucranos, both copies, dual deck, foil, and regular. Joe lets him keep the much superior dual deck art as one of the 5/5s hits the bin. Now Joe faced with a conundrum here. Multiple copies of Abrupt Decay in hand. Needs to get that Xenagos off the board. We'll play the Temple of Malady, resolve the Scry trigger, push the Forest. There's a Caryatid on top. So we make another token with Xenagos. We just cast the Pelucranos from hand. Next turn, that Pelucranos can get pretty big, as we have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if we tick up Xenagos, it's another 4. So we could go monsters for 4 and attack with a 9/9. So Casey on the Mold of 5, he's Hellbent now, but he's doing a pretty good job of putting up some pressure here. Joe's deck does not have access to a sweeper. Does have access to a Banishing Light on the Pelucranos, however. Plays a Temple of Plenty, scrying that Caryatid to the bottom. Reveals Devour Flesh. Lost Legion livestream, helping Magic Grinders set up modern MTGO playdates since 2012. So there's another Satyr token. Casey forming quite an army here of 2/2s, but none of which can really successfully get through that Courser, but a Gorklan Rampager Blood Rush on one of the token being blocked by the Courser will force through 2 damage, will kill the Courser, and when it's all said and done, Joe drops down to 10. Has nothing on board. He's got an active Connections and a Caryatid, but falling slowly behind here. That Xenagos doing a lot of work. So Joe just plays a Gauntlet Shrine tapped and then passes the turn back. Casey playing off the top of his deck, but well ahead on board. Looks like we're going to go 0 on the Xenagos and make another Satyr. That's probably good enough here. I'm not sure if Joe's playing Bile-Blight in the main or not. Not sure if he's playing Bile-Blight at all, as he does have a pretty extensive removal suite he can choose from in these colors. Casey finds a Storm Breath on the top of his deck, serves him with 4 Satyrs and the Storm Breath, and Joe goes to cast the Advent of the Worm we knew was in his hand this entire time, thanks to the turn 3 Courser. But Joe's still got some choices here. He's likely dead next turn to a monstrous dragon. He's going to take 8 here, no matter what it looks like. I mean, I take that back. We can't Abrupt Decay a token and save 1 damage because we'd have to Mana Confluence to get there. So Joe lines up blocks, goes down to 2 here, and I'm not sure what he can draw that will get him out of this. He might be obligated to Abrupt Decay. What does he need here? He needs a target removal spell for the Storm Breath. That's step 1. He needs another blocker. He needs 2 more blockers for Satyrs and newly made Satyrs. We're going to chump. Chumping with the Caryatid will save Xenagos. The 5/5 Worm does trample, but Xenagos stays alive at 1, and Joe can't deal with the extra Satyr. So we move to the side where Casey mulls to 5 on the play and gets there off the back of some Planeswalkers and a Storm Breath Dragon. So he goes up. He's 1 game away from the top 8. And he is up a game, so not in the worst shape to draw out of it. So it looks like Casey has found 6 cards that he's going to keep, and Joe getting us underway here with the Temple of Malady, leaving the card on top. Casey right to work with an Elvish Mystic. And Joe without a land that comes into play untapped, so we're seeing the turn 2 Thoughtseize here, revealing Temple of Malady, Elspeth, Courser of Crufix, Stomping Ground, and I could not see the last card, Rurik Thar of all things, out of the board, which is actually pretty good against Joe's deck. And then Joe following it up with yet another Scry Land and continuing to run well, leaving that card on top. So Casey, not too bad, not too shabby of a top deck either. I believe it was a Courser. But interesting, choosing not to shock himself with the Stomping Ground and play the Courser on turn 2, choosing instead to Scry. I believe that was a Courser he drew. Joe shocks himself to cast Lifebane Zombie. No, I misspoke. It must have been that other Elvish Mystic, so that makes a lot more sense. So Rurik Thar gets exiled Temple of Triumph leaving a card on top, but Casey, with no other business, he can't even really afford to attack in here, as he needs those two Mystics to possibly cast that Elspeth next turn. So Joe draws a duress off the top, as if he has spent his entire life trying to do that exact thing. There. So Joe serves in with the Life Beam Zombie. Interesting here, he does not duress. So is that an indication that he has a Hero's Downfall? You would think he would just fire that duress off immediately to get that Elspeth. But maybe there's a line I'm not seeing. So now joined by 12-year-old Garrett Meadows. So Elspeth in play, 3 tokens on board. Joe needs to find an answer to this Planeswalker here. He does have Hero's Downfall, but I still don't understand why you wouldn't just duress it away and then you don't have to deal with the 3 tokens, especially since you have a Lifebane zombie on board. But then again, what do I know? Oh, it has Intimidate, so it doesn't matter. I'm an idiot.
That's not a good blocker.
No, I was talking about 1/1 tokens. Joe had the option to duress that Elspeth away and instead chose to let it resolve so that he could Hero's Downfall it. But is also not... Is this going to be a Rurkthar in hand? Just seems like a very odd sequence. Again, I mean, I'm not finding fault. It just seems interesting.
It's also going to be hard for him to beat that Rurkthar.
Yeah, also he didn't Hero's Downfall that Elspeth. I've already misread Casey's hand once, so it's possible that I'm doing it again, but I'm pretty sure there's a Hero's Downfall in Joe's hand. Why else would you not do that? It's also funny that Casey is doing this, knowing that there's a giant box full of tokens, literally 4 inches to his right.
Hey man, you don't pay for the custom tokens and then not use them.
Alright, so more tokens out of Elspeth. Literally and figuratively.
Rurkthar coming down. The 6/6 Vigilant Reach. Non-creature spells. I'm gonna bop you in the head, guy.
Yeah, basically Rurkthar says you probably should have cast the Hero's Downfall last turn. So
you can kill the Elspeth this turn with the Lifebane Zombie, then he's gonna have to use that Hero's Downfall on the Rurkthar, or else half his deck shut off.
Yeah, and with 6 tokens to deal with that could have never been on board if we just duress.
Yeah, well, I mean, the duress got supreme value later on by hitting nothing.
I see what you did there. You made a joke.
Connections on top of the library.
We're long past the connections portion of this game, I feel. So Elspeth does in fact hit the bin, intimidating Lifebane Zombie, finishing the job there. Now we can cast Hero's Downfall on Rurkthar. The problem is we will go down to 9 to do that. However, we can easily mop up this board state with the Mutavault and the Courser. Right. As Joe would have to suicide, or Casey would have to suicide 2 guys a turn, and that would go 5/3, so 8 damage, all while we're gaining life off the Courser. So
Joe is basically at an effective 9 here.
Yeah, but
Casey can force through 4 damage next turn, put him to 5, and then knock the top of the deck, and there's another Rurkthar, I guess.
Or Storm Breath, or Rosinda Ghost, or anything to keep adding to the board. Yeah, the chat mentioning that's probably unreasonable to, or there is definitely an argument to be made for just doing the line that Joe chose of just 2 swings with the...
Well, I mean, just having come in here, it looks like we're at least on turn 6, turn 7. This is the point of the game where your discard spells lose a lot of their value, so if you know you're 100% to hit...
Yeah, he had cast a Thoughtseize like the turn earlier in this top deck, the Duress. So Downfall on Rurkthar solves the problem of the 6/6 Vigilance, but does put you down to 9. Scry leaves on top. That's got to be the most terrifying thing for Joe, right?
So either a Xenaghost or a Stormbreath Dragon.
Why would you not attack with the... Well, because you need it to cast whatever's on the top of your deck.
It was a 6 mana, 7 mana, or he just didn't see his I was mistaken.
No, he moved it down there.
Oh.
So maybe it's a dragon and he wants to monstrous it?
Well, that would take 12 mana.
But I mean, just having access to the 7th mana.
Maybe Aurelia's Fury or Summon Primordial.
Maybe some Primordial. What is that?
Zaxxas.
Another Corsair? Is that what that is?
Aurelia's Fury, if you had it. Lifebane Zombie, not going to block, obviously, so he's just going to come in and start chipping away.
Oh, Pelucranos. Oh, so it was we were leaving up the mana to fight for 1?
I don't know why I didn't. Yeah. Yeah, he can kill the Lifebane Zombie here.
Well, seems pretty good. Unless Joe has target removal spell, in which case he gets blown out with the in response to counters thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know one of the cards in Joe's hand is Underworld Connections.
Joe's doing a lot of work here with these Corsairs. In the matchups where the Corsair goes completely unanswered, and then you draw another one, and you never miss land drops. Oh, that Doomblade on top would be so much better if it was in play. There's an Elspeth. Kill the Lifebane Zombie. Make a... At that point, would you have... Oh, yeah. He minused it in response. Yeah, okay, I see what happened there. Then that all makes sense. Casey drew another... He drew a Xenagos. Xenagos goes on that side. The Pelucranos goes on the top. Then Xenagos down there. Make a Satyr token. And get in... This can't be correct, right?
No, you gotta protect your Xenagos here. You can play in Monsters of Stormbreath Dragon if you don't attack next turn. Yeah, and you're barehanded. Like, there's nothing that Joe has to play around here. Oh, let's get the Elspeth off the table. What am I thinking about?
Oh, he attacked Elspeth.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what we were talking
I totally forgot that there's Elspeth on one as well.
He's saying that we should probably deal with the incredibly tough to deal with Planeswalker, the one turn that you can actually kill it.
I mean, there's actually an argument to not do that, because if you rip a Stormbreath Dragon, he's not going to be able to monsters it now.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's playing specific outs, that was...
Why does Joe keep gaining 3 every time? What is it? Is it a third Corsair?
I don't know, when we got there and throw this big block of wood at him.
No, there is a 2x4 in the broom closet this week, and we don't know why. I said earlier it's because someone was doing the world's smallest Hexal Jim Duggan impression, but it was Scotty Wright, or Jonathan Wright in here, and he didn't have any idea what I was talking about. So what are our best draws? Just dragons?
Yeah.
Dragons close the game out very quickly. Well, we know Joe has a Doomblade, right?
He does now.
So it's either a blank or reactive spell there. Casey just sends the turn back. Joe's got connections online now, and he draws the Hero's Downfall that was on top of his deck. Finds the land, and there's a Scavenging Ooze. Joe getting all the value here.
Yeah, this deck is very greedy, but whenever it comes together, it's a very, very strong engine.
What are we doing here? How are we lining up our attacks? If we're attacking everything at Xenagos, then you just put Xenagos in the bin and pray that you draw perfect over the next 3 turns. Joe is at what, 7?
Joe's at 5.
5? And now he's at 10.
Yep.
Or at 15, he's gained 10. He has definitely pulled back very strong off the back of not 1, not 2, but 3 Corsair Crufix. Has just enough removal to stem the tide here. Going to Hero's Downfall the Xenagos. Casey has seen enough, so these guys move to the decider here.
Got outplayed.
Yeah.
So hard. At one point, I was like, "Wow, you're pretty good at this."
Who did you play? Did you play any named players?
The biggest person I played was Michael Braverman.
Of Team Braverman?
Yes. He had his Team Braverman shirt on.
Do you know what that's from?
No, but he stopped the crap out of me.
Team Braverman is from the show Parenthood on NBC.
Okay.
Like they go to some kind of like family reunion or something, and they all have shirts that say Team Braverman. It just happens that their name is Braverman. There he is.
Hello. So Skibbe starting off with Skyland into perfect mana. He played a Temple Garden, so he must not have a Sylvan Carrier type. Sylvan Carrier does double duty against these black decks because it obviously fixes your mana and sets you up very well, but also just turns off all their Devour flushes.
Yeah. So this Duress is going to get a Xenagos, revealing a hand of land. There's 3 lands and a Rurkthar?
I thought it was just 4 lands.
4 mana for a hardcast Gore Clan Rampager. That's how we drew it up. Just play the 4/4 for 4.
Must not have anything to bring in. That's usually the first card to go out against
well, to be fair,
16 removal spell deck.
To be fair, there's a Desecration Demon. To be fair, this is the first time Casey's ever played this
deck.
thing. So there's definitely a situation in which Casey knows how to play the main deck, but probably doesn't know the intricacies of the sideboard.
Correct.
I think Rudy quit watching after you lambasted him.
He's an emotional man.
She too.
I called him out for AOE.
I'll do that.
Rudy Briscoe.
Alright, so there's a Sylvan Carrier too little too late, more than likely. Wow. This is very aggressive. But I guess that feels really wrong to me, but I don't know what else Casey's supposed to do, I guess.
I don't know. It seems very wrong because
lose to this 3-turn clock now?
Yeah.
Well, you can always sack his score thing.
He can.
He's got top deck Xenagos.
He could just concede if he wanted to as well. Like, that's an option that he has.
He's just gonna...
Ooh. Could draw a Storm Breath, but Joe's got a million removal spells. I'm so glad Tad is here. What?
Right, peeking
I
out.
have to look.
Tad is he's what my mom would call a handful.
He's in a good mood.
We could live stream Tad. Not his game, just what he does in the
Put a fear cam on at all times.
Just strap a GoPro to his head. Or to his opponent's head.
So Carrington into Connections, Joe seems to have this one locked up.
Yeah, I think he had it locked up when he cast a Duress. Got Skibbe's Xenagos. That's pretty much all she wrote from there.
There's Skews.
I do love this. This is interesting. As Trixix says in the chat very correctly. So if someone is there trolling what we do and calling us effing nerds, which as just points out is
description.
Well, yeah, and it's also hilarious because there's no reason you would be on Twitch unless you were doing something incredibly nerdy.
No, man. They play Madden.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, you're not playing Madden, you're watching somebody else. Like,
That's like
there's a very chance
point
you're either watching Dota, League, or, like, watching somebody do speed runs of Mario Party or something.
Or seeing some woman's big boobs while she plays League.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which seems stupid because, like, if you want to watch League, you should watch League, and if you want to watch porn, like, you also have access to that. You're on a computer!
It's for people that have a conscience.
I don't think that's
They
it.
have values, so they just watch other people and make it seem like it's something else.
It's people who don't have a grasp of their flaws, I think, is the...
I swear.
Is this game still going on?
I don't know why we're walking with the carry too. But I think it just really made Skibbe mad. Oh no, he had him. He had the double cork
he would have been at 1. Wait, right? I don't know.
Joe was at 12. I think. I don't know.
I mean, to a certain extent, I quit paying attention, and then also they've got to figure out.
Wait, he can sack his score claim.
Well, he showed him a banishing light, which will happen before the trigger.
Yeah.
Were you making a joke, Jonathan? Were you making a joke?
Kind of.
I mean, this is coming from the guy that ultimate priced Naya. Gideon.
I did. Which is a legal move.
Yes. But I told him the results and that he read Gideon.
Because it's indestructible?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I read Gideon, then I did it.
Yes,
Then
he only read him twice. And made me leave the card upside down. So
Did you do this during combat?
Yes.
Which is the only time that you can't do that, right? After you've animated it?
Yes.
Also,
I just thought it was like the old one. I jumped straight to the part where it said prevent all combat damage to him. I was just like, sweet, I can ultimate price.
Yeah, that's one there because it'd just be too confusing with loyalty counters. Like, they just skipped over that entire part. Like, making enemy creatures confusing enough. We're not going to make this headache of trying to figure out if we should lose loyalty counters whenever you block something.
That was the original design for Gideon, and they changed it. And then this new one, they did it. Because imagine the old one. Like, it was as big as it was, had loyalty counters, and how good that card is. That is Justin, right? I just wanted to confirm.